This is the second week we have been with you. The feedback has been amazing. The initial responses have been very warm. Videos have been watched more than about 30,000 times as I speak with you right now. But there's one community that we were not addressing. We were addressing professionals, we were addressing young entrepreneurs or wannabes, we were addressing people at home, and we were addressing everyone except one very, very critical part of our entire society, and that was our group of students. The entire category was not being touched much. Yes, we were talking about motivation, we were talking about how to actually take things positively, but that didn't really cut ice with Gen Z and Gen Next, because they have got their thoughts, very well set out before the lockdown happened. Ever since the lockdown, well, I've got my son who's in class 12. After lockdown, last paper still to be completed, he is still in class 12 for the last 15 months. Now, these are the things which are causing a lot of uncertainty, a lot of worry in the minds and hearts of these young blokes, the young kids, the boys and girls. What we are doing today is very, very topical. We are addressing only the student community. And to do that, I'm not the right person. To take it forward, I'm not the right person. We got somebody who is a student, who is facing the uncertainty, who doesn't know when next would he be able to move out and get on with his career, or if the career that he had selected or chosen in his mind is still to happen or not, to answer a lot of these questions, to take care of a lot of these uncertainties going within his mind and the minds of students like him all around. He thought, why not that is, my son, why not I get into conversation with somebody who has answers to all these questions? Why not me getting into a conversation with somebody who has been there, who has been doing it, who has been guiding a lot of these young blokes to the right direction? And so today, with a lot of expectation, with a lot of delight on his face, we are launching Youth Talks Rise with Aryaman Sinha, a student of class 12. Aryaman, take it away, my friend. It's over to you.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Youth Talks Rise. I hope you all are staying safe and staying home. So what I'm about to tell you is about the end of November last year, when the world wasn't in a lockdown. I was in a convention with my mom. My mom called me to hear a gentleman speak. Well, I was a bit late, but by God's grace, I was lucky enough to have a one-on-one with a gentleman who was the chief guest of the convention. We were talking. He was telling me things about career, about path of life, but it wasn't the same things, like not the same careers, engineer, doctors, not those things. I agree those are very respected careers, but what he was telling was different, was unique. He was telling me and giving me ideas on how to make your hobby your profession. Folks, isn't that what we love? Having your hobby, which is something which you love to do, and making money off it. That's amazing. And someone who is teaching me that, well, take it away. I love that. I was listening to him. He was telling me things like how I can make my hobby, that is photography, into a profession. He even invited me to his academy, the most revered art academy in India, to have a one-year course with him. We had a talk. He was extremely humble for a person of his stature. We had the talk going on for a while. Then the talk ended and we went our ways. The same day night, there was a music concert. My mom was again invited in the concert. She asked, "Do you want to go?" I was like, "Why not? Sure." And lo behold, the same gentleman was also the chief guest in this concert as well. We spotted each other, got into talking again. We talked. The concert ended. We talked. The dinner after the concert ended. We talked. There was no one at the whole area except me, this gentleman, my mom, and the president of the organization. It was completely barren except us four. Friends, the person who I'm talking about is the Dean of Contemporary Media at Pearl Academy, the person who launched Shah Rukh Khan, Mr. Viveck Vaswani, a revered producer, actor, and a teacher, and a mentor to great actors like Boman Irani, Shah Rukh Khan. Please welcome Mr. Viveck Vaswani, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for calling me. It's good to see you after such a long time.
Hello,
And
sir.
thank you for all these wonderful things you're saying about me. Go ahead, ask me what you wish, and I hope you can ask me what a lot of the students want to hear.
Yes, that's right. First question, sir. आपने मुझसे बात क्यों की? What made you talk to me? Like, why would someone of your stature, the person who is such a big person, and someone talking to me? I'm a 17-year-old with no orientation in entertainment or the film industry. आपने बात क्यों की? क्या देखा आपने?
So I must tell you that it's a two-way conversation, isn't it? I always talk to people. I have spent my life mentoring them, guiding them, and giving them as much time as they need. But getting that guidance, listening to me, understanding what I'm saying, asking me questions is not in my hands, it's in their hands. I don't know why I have started becoming a teacher so late in life. I am now the Dean of the School of Contemporary Media at Pearl Academy. I also teach. I teach a lot of cinema, film appreciation. We have a digital filmmaking course. We have a professional photography course. We have fashion, communication, media and entertainment, journalism. But more than that, more than being part of the faculty, which I was, I am now their dean. I am their mentor. I am their guide. You see, what happens is that it started 35 years ago, I guess, when I was making a film called Patthar Ke Phool. It was Raveena Tandon's first film. Yeah. It was Raveena Tandon's first film. It was my friend Anant Balani, who was in school with me. It was his first film. It was almost my first film. I had made a very small film called Gavahi before that. The assistants were all new. One was called Sanjay Gupta. He's made Kante, he's made Kabul, he's made Shootout at Lokhandwala. One was Sanjay Gadvi, who subsequently went and directed Dhoom and Dhoom 2 and a whole bunch of other films. Okay. One was Vinay Jain, who was in school with me, though nearly 10 years junior to me. But he's become a very big TV star. There was Lalit Lajgaonkar, who is now doing rather well making ad films. And there was a whole bunch of them. Now, I didn't really want to make the film, but all of them needed counseling, guidance, because at that stage, so I made Patthar Ki Phool not because I thought it would be a great film or because I would become a film producer, but because 30 people who were part of that film would get a career. Now, Patthar Ki Phool went and became a hit.
Yes.
So obviously the financer, Mr. G.P. Sippi, he said, well, you know, Raveena is now on contract and Salman has become a big star because Maine Pyar Kiya also became a hit along with Patthar Ki Phool. So we should make another film with these two and we'll take a big director. By then, whether I liked it or not, I had already met Shah Rukh and he was already staying in my house and I needed to make a film to launch him. And we chose a director called Aziz Mirza and it was going to be his first film also. I chose a young music director pair called Jatin and Lalit and it was going to be their first film also. So my financer, Mr. Sippi, said, are you mad? Once you can get away with it, you can't get away with it every single time. And why don't you want to work with Shah Rukh? I said, it's not a question of not with Salman. It's not a question of not wanting to work with Salman. I would love to work with Salman. But Shah Rukh needs this film. Aziz Mirza needs this film. Jatin Lalit needs this film. Manoj Lalwani, who was new, needed this film. So I sort of reworked all the profit of Patthar Ke Phool and amortized that against Raju Ban Gaya Gentleman. And then I made Raju Ban Gaya Gentleman. Meanwhile, Sanjay Gupta was ready to direct. He had assisted on Patthar Ke Phool. So came Atish, which was his first film, which was Atul Agnihotre's first film. And before I knew it, I had made a whole bunch of films with brand new directors and brand new actors. And Everybody Says I'm Fine in 2002 was Rahul Bose's first film. It was Boman Irani's first film. It was Koel Puri and Anahita Uberoy's first film. It was Rasool Pukati's first film. He's gone and won the Oscar after that for Slumdog Millionaire. Yes, I recently made Dura Mil Gaya, Mudassar Aziz's first film. He's just directed Pati Patni Aur Wo, which has been very, very successful. I made a film called Sarakhoper, which was Gyan Sahai's first film, Dilip Joshi's first film. You all know him as Jethalal today on television. He's become a huge star. So when I looked back, I realized that my entire life was really not about me. It was about others. It was about giving them careers. It was about mentoring them. And that's when I made a film called Rough Book. It was a very small film on education, which had a whole bunch of new actors. And it had a whole bunch of people who needed careers. I was already working with specially challenged children. And Rough Book became into a very widely seen film by students. I didn't take it to the theaters. I took it straight to schools, and it's played in more than 700 schools already. And now it's on Amazon Prime. So those who haven't seen it, I would encourage them to see it because a lot of questions are answered there. And Rough Book led to me being invited to conferences, seminars, lectures, basically with students, which led to me becoming guest faculty at various institutions, which led to me becoming adjunct professor at Pearl Academy, which led to me becoming the dean of the School of Contemporary Media at Pearl Academy. But the basic thread is guidance and counseling. So I have kids who call me up at 3 in the night and they want to talk, and I'm ready to talk because it's about them. So when you say I talked to you, I didn't. You talked to me. You wanted to know. I had the answers. So we sat and we chatted. You didn't have to come to that dinner. You could have gone out. You could have partied. The choices will always be in your hands. I had a student called Swapnil. In fact, I was at MET and I didn't really teach him, but he heard me a couple of times. He called up and said, I need help. I said, come. He stayed in Thana. He came. He brought his water bottle. He sat with me at home till 3 in the morning. Today, he's doing rather well. He's been one of the production team of Inside Edge, which is a very, very successful serial. So my aim is not to communicate anything that will not give you a career. The main reason me talking to you and various people is so that you can understand what is good, what is bad, what could become a career, what may just remain a hobby. It's up to you. I have the answers. At least I have the logic. And when we talk, things happen. And when things happen, you get a clearer picture. When you get a clearer picture, you get a career. And I get satisfaction. So we're both happy.
So you realize the needs of the people who are talking to. You know what they want. You're trying to figure out how to get what they want. You give them ideas. And you're very resourceful at that. Is that correct?
Because that's the question is not about just making sure that people get careers. You see, you have to go one step further. You have to make sure that they get successful careers. The aim is not that you should have a job. You should have a career. You should have something that is sustainable. You should have something that is scalable. You should have something that will take you forward and forward and forward. When I had Shah Rukh staying with me and I had to launch him, I did not launch him with a film called Raju Ban Gaya Gentleman. We set up Raju Ban Gaya Gentleman, but I was very clear that unless you don't sign 4 other movies which are already sold to distributors, we won't start shooting this. This is your safety net.
Okay.
So, and they were really bad roles. I mean, with due respect, King Uncle was like a supporting role. I had as big a role as he had. And Dil Aashna Hai was very small. It was a multi-starrer. And a lot of friends then, Aditya Pancholi, Arman Kohli, Rahul Roy, Avinash Vadhavan, Sumit Sehgal, Govinda, Chunky Pandey, all of them used to tell him, what kind of roles are you signing? I mean, we are doing big roles. We have solo hero. We have 6 songs. We have 8 songs. And when he came and asked me, I said, you figured it out. None of their films are sold. Your films are sold. If they become hits, you get the credit. But if they don't run, then you do not get the discredit because they are Rakesh Roshan and Hema Malini and GP Sippy respectively. And if they fail, you've got a Raju Ban Gaya Gentleman. And if they're successful, Raju Ban Gaya Gentleman will benefit. It was a very clear strategy. So he signed, and we set up and we wrote Raju first. But the first film he shot for was a film called King Uncle in Nairobi. Because they were shooting another film there. So Rakesh Roshan called up and said, why don't you send him a Gana wahan uda dete? The first film that he actually had a proper official Muhurat was Hema Malini's Dil Aashna. The first film that got released was Rajkamar's Deewana. And the first mega hit, apart from Deewana, of course, first solo film, first film for which he got the Filmfare Award was Raju Ban Gaya Gentleman. But it was not his first release. It was the parameter, the base, the foundation on which a whole career was set. Now, I've seen my friend Salman Khan, he made a film called Hero to launch Suraj Pancholi.
Yes.
But he didn't give Suraj a career. He gave Suraj a film. Then he made a film called Love Yatri, and there was Ayush Sharma, his brother-in-law, but there was no career. Then he made a film with Zahir Abbas called Notebook. Again, there was no career. So the aim is not to give you a film or not to give you a job. The aim is to give you a career, and that's a completely different ball game altogether.
All right. So that's a very deep thing to understand. It's not only about giving a single film, it's about giving the whole career, which leads you in the wrong game, not just one movie.
You will agree that Shah Rukh does have a career. It's been 30 years now.
Yes, he is the King Khan of Bollywood.
Well, I couldn't do that. I could only sort of give him the guidance and give him the real advice that Mr. Shah Rukh Khan, your job is not to act, which is completely contradictory. When I talk, it sounds very contradictory. He said, it's not my job to act. I said, no. Your job is to sell tickets. I don't care if that performance is bad. So he understood immediately what I was talking about. Because if tickets sell, then you get more work, you get a career, you get success, you get fame, you get money. Now, what happens if you give a great performance and nobody buys tickets? You don't only lose faith in yourself, because if that great performance is not going to sell tickets, then what is going to sell tickets? So you have to understand the business that you're in, not just your art, not just your craft, but the overall business environment within which you are going to place that art or within which you are going to place that craft. And that is what I do, which nobody else does. And that is why most of them become successful, all the names that I mentioned. The aim was not कि यार तुम काम करो, काम तो सब करते हैं, काम तो टैक्सी ड्राइवर भी करता है, काम तो कूली भी करता है, लेकिन उस काम से कामयाबी कैसी मिलती है? That bridge is where I fit in and I start doing that.
So carrying over from
good performance or bad performance doesn't matter. It has to be a profitable performance. Now, the moment you understand that, you will go all out to see what it is that's going to make that film profitable, and you will balance yourself accordingly. It becomes very simple once you know.
So that is the difference between an actor and a superstar. Carrying on from that point,
it's two separate jobs.
How does it majorly separate them?
Well, an actor's job is to act. He comes, he gives a performance, he goes home. He doesn't take the responsibility for the film, for the film's budget, for the film's distribution, for the film's marketing, for the film's release. मैं अपना काम किया, मैं अपना पैसा लिया, मैं घर चले गया. A star's job is not to give a performance or to act. A star's job is to take the responsibility for making a profit for his producer, even maybe before the shooting is started. So his bunch of responsibilities comes from the script level. How much are we going to spend on this film? Who is going to be my co-stars? Who is the cameraman? Who are we selling the film to and why? What should be the release date? What should be the kind of cinemas we get? Is there a bank holiday in the middle of that weekend? All those things have to be taken into consideration. And after those things have been taken into consideration, we actually start looking at the script once again to see whether it fits the criteria. It's not about his performance. It's about the film success. Two completely separate jobs, therefore two completely separate payments. Today, we don't pay actors 50 and 75 crores per picture. We pay them or 2 lakhs. We pay the stars. So it's two jobs. It's two different, completely different. But acting was the job. Only, strictly, acting was the job. Then we'd be paying Nasiruddin Shah Sahab and Pankaj Kapoor Sahab, the finest actors in the country. We'd be paying them 100 crores per picture. But we don't. We do pay Akshay Kumar 100 crores per picture. But it's two separate jobs. Akshay gets the same for his performance that a Nasir Saab would get, or could get, or should get. The balance amount is for making the profit for the producer.
All right. So actors' work is to act, and a star's work is to make success for the film, that is.
Mostly the Shah Rukh Khans and the Amitabh Bachchans of the world have done both and very successful.
All right. That's very true. Now, what is our topic? The topic is secret sauce of success. What are your ingredients for the secret sauce?
So, as I said, the first thing is to understand what your job is. You know, like I told Shah Rukh, your job is not to act. He came to be an actor. He became a star. He didn't know the difference. Someone had to tell him that an actor's job is this, a star's job is this. So the first secret ingredient is know your job.
All right.
If your job is to paint, or is your job to sell that painting? Is your job to create music, or is your job to translate that creation into something that the world can see? So many people come to me because they want to become directors. And I say, why do you want to be a director? They say, no, we want to be directors because we want to be filmmakers. But it's the producer who makes the film. It's the producer who makes all the decisions because he's signing the checks. So decision making lies in the hand of the producer. Executing those decisions is in the hand of the director, which is why when there's a clash, there is always frustration. But you will see that the greatest filmmakers we had, Raj Kapoor, Feroz Khan, Manoj Kumar, Sanjay Leela Bhansali, Subhash Ghai, they were all producers as well. The final title would say produced and directed by Subhash Ghai, Raj Kapoor, etc. They would never say directed and produced by. The power of the creation lies in the person who can control the team, the money, the finance, the distribution. So,
all right.
First secret is know your real job. Everyone thinks this is the job. Actually, that is the job. They don't know the difference. Like, for example, everyone comes to be stars. Everyone learns how to act. They don't realize it's two separate jobs. They're sitting and suffering because they think their talent is going to take them anywhere, which comes to the second secret ingredient. Your talent is not, cannot, and will not be enough. Apart from your talent, there has to be a qualification. So I get people who come and say, Vivek sir, but we are so talented and we got this diploma and we got that certificate. I'm sure. But nobody taught you how to translate that talent into a job, into a career, into something that would give you a sustainable income.
That's right.
So then I say, yeah, your talent is very good, but let's talk about cinema. They don't know. They don't know how many films Raj Kapoor has directed. Yes. They don't know how many films Feroz Khan has acted in. Who's your favorite actor? Shah Rukh Khan. How many films has he done? They don't know. Now, that knowledge is not there. And that knowledge is what leads to control, because knowledge always leads to control, and control leads to power, and power leads to success. And there are formulas for all that to be successful. And that they don't know. So I would say you're talented, very good, but nobody's telling me hard work. Nobody's telling me knowledge. Nobody's telling me discipline. Nobody's telling me qualification. These four, along with your talent, may lead to success.
Okay.
But pure talent and miles and gallons of pure talent will not buy you a cup of tea.
Well, that's true. Answer. Every sauce has a preservative. What is the preservative in this sauce, the secret sauce of success, that will keep it going? Just like you. You've been successful for a long time.
So basically, out of all the ingredients that I mentioned, I would seriously say that the most important one, the preservative that keeps it going, is knowledge.
All right.
If you don't have knowledge, then you can't go further. And knowledge is not a static thing. Knowledge is dynamic. Knowledge keeps on changing. What was yesterday is not going to be today and will not be tomorrow. At Pearl, we actually have a whole business of being organic. So I keep on tweaking the curriculum. I keep on changing things, adding things, so that they are prepared to be what I call future-proof students. I change a lot of things. I keep on adding a lot of things. This year in the Oscars, Parasite won the best film. It also won best foreign film. It also won best screenplay. A film in Korean language winning a screenplay at an American. Obviously, what has happened is the subtitling and dubbing have become into big careers today. They may not have been 6 months ago. 6 months ago, they were careers. But today, they are big careers. So that is the one thing we do. The other important thing, the preservative, is understand the value of what you're doing. Now, I'll talk to you about your pet favorite hobby, which is photography. Yes. In my parents' day, the photographer used to come to the wedding and he used to take pictures of my parents, and he used to get 50 rupees and he used to get dinner and he'd go. And then he'd make prints, black and white prints of the picture. And then they would come home and then we'd buy 50 pictures, 100 pictures. We would buy those prints.
Yes, they would.
and 3 rupees or 5 rupees a print. Today, a top-notch wedding photographer can take as much as 5 lakh rupees per day to go and shoot a destination wedding. Today, a food photographer who's an industrial photographer who shoots the food, who shoots the hamburger for McDonald's and puts it up on a hoarding, can get paid up to 2 lakh rupees per picture or per day of shooting. So we are talking about careers which have become so big because they're not just careers of talent, they're also about knowledge and discipline. And it is therefore that knowledge of technology, the upgradation of technology, the continuous being a student as opposed to now I know everything, which is going to keep on giving you sustainable careers. But skill-based careers, makeup men. Today, makeup people are charging up to 50 and 75,000 rupees per day. And they're getting that on television, on the web, in ad films and in cinema. So are hairstylists. So are fashion stylists. So are people who are doing social media marketing. So are people who are doing talent management, celebrity management, event management. So what we do and what I'm now doing is creating a buffet of careers and working backwards from those careers into what we need to teach our students. I think that is the real thing. So you don't come to Bombay to become an actor. You have to decide, are you going to be an actor? If so, are you going to do theater? Are you going to do television? Are you going to be film? No, I want to be a star. Then I have to go and apprentice myself to a distributor, understand the business, come back. Hopefully my talent will take me through, but my business sense will. So you have to get to the real funda of what you want to do. But I must tell you that professions in the creative fields today are where the big money and sustainability are. Everywhere else, things are getting automated, things are getting computerized, things are getting robotized. Wherever a computer can do your job for you, or wherever a robot can do your job for you, you're not going to have a job. Your creativity is what is going to have to be translated by those robots and those computers. So if your creativity is intact, your creative juices are flowing, it doesn't matter whether you're in photography, in fashion, in design, as a journalist, as a social media marketer, your career is going to be based on creativity. And that is something that we do at Pearl. And that is something which is why I chose to do it, actually. It was very simple. All I had to do was sign one daily soap opera. At my age, lakh rupees per day to mil hi jata mujhe.
और क्या? That's simple.
तो उससे ज़्यादा तो मुझे चाहिए नहीं. So with due respect, the choice was a very clear choice for me. I'm a teacher. I am a mentor. It's something I've done all my life. It's something I'm going to do all my life. I might as well do it well, and I might as well have the correct platform to do it with the right people and the right school. That's why Pearl.
So regarding this, is there a qualification or an age to be a superstar? Or is it only for an actor?
No, I don't think so. I think qualification is more important than age. Boman Irani became a superstar at the age of 50. After everybody says, I'm fine, once he did the Munna Bhai films, once he did, a whole bunch of films with Raju Hirani and a whole bunch of other films, he became a superstar. Today, I am finding that Pankaj Tripathi and Saurav Shukla and a whole bunch of actors who 5 years ago could have been supporting actors are actually holding films, becoming the tentpole for particular films, doing the kind of work that in olden days maybe a Dilip Kumar would have done. I'm just saying. So no, there is no age for becoming, and Kareena Kapoor became a superstar at 20 or 17 or 18. Raveena Tandon was half that when I launched her. She was only 16 or 17 when I launched her in Patthar Ki Phool. So no, there is no age bar. You can even become a superstar at the age of 80 if you so wish. There is definitely, in my opinion, a qualification bar. If you don't know the business you are in, if you want to be in cinema and you don't know cinema, if you want to be in journalism and you don't know journalism, oh, I can write. But do you know journalism? Do you know who you're writing for? Do you understand why you're writing that? Do you understand the repercussions of what you're writing? I'm just giving you an example. If you don't have your qualification, your discipline, and your capacity for hard work intact, then that's the stumbling block, not the age.
All right.
Oh, and definitely
can be removed from this success.
Not the looks either. A lot of people think I have to be good looking to be a superstar. That's not the criteria. Your age is not the criteria. Your weight is not the criteria. The amount of hair on your head is not a criteria. Your qualifications.
They make it, right. And another thing relating to success. People say failure is necessary for success. But is that true? Can we get success without any failure also?
I don't think that we define these words until we don't understand what these words mean. We should not. Success is a very individual thing.
It's
For
different for
me,
everyone.
yes, no, for me, for example, earning 3.5 to 4 crore rupees a year working on television is not success. Working for a comparative pittance as a teacher is successful. It's a question of choice. There are some people, Shah Rukh would not be happy with 5 lakh rupees a month. He wanted to conquer Bollywood. He did. That was his choice. But I had a very dear friend called Viju Khote. He played Kalia in Sholay. Tera Kya Hoga Kalia. Viju was continuously acting. He was an actor who would be what we call a per day actor. He would
Okay.
get small roles, but he was a very, very happy man. The small roles that he got was enough for him to keep his house, his car, his children's education, one holiday every year, so on and so forth. His parameters for success were fulfilled as mine were as Shah Rukh Saab. Now, the exact antithesis of this is failure. I could have become a multi-millionaire if I had just turned out and made 4 more films with Shah Rukh, or even not launched Shah Rukh, made my next 4 films with Salman. But that would have been very, very successful career maybe as a producer, but I would
Not
have been a failure as a teacher. I would have
exactly.
had a Mercedes and I would have had a bungalow and I would have had foreign holidays, but I would not have had the satisfaction of having 100 students who actually love me and who call me up and care for me because I have been mentoring them. So for me, I think success and failure have to be defined by you. But when you fail in doing something or in achieving that goal, it is not a failure. It's an
Correct.
obstacle which has been put there so that you can understand your job or your career better and how to surmount it. For example, I have always been technologically challenged. I've spent my life talking. I got a phone, so I understood how to use WhatsApp and Facebook, and I managed to use email very well. But ever since we've come into the digital age, I've had to cope with understanding how Zoom works. I've had to understand how to create webinars on Blackboard, Collaborate Ultra. I've had to understand how to use my or challenge my skills to the utmost. But I won't give up. I will. And I will become a master. And one day I will be teaching computers as well. You have to, it's all here, you know. Either you say you
Exactly.
can or you say you can't. And if you say you can't, no matter what I say, it's not going to change anything.
So that
So I
is
think you had some questions to ask, Himadri. You've been putting your hand up.
Yes, Mr. Vaswani, now what you mentioned about getting the bandwidth in terms of knowledge. Knowledge is something very important, getting yourself a bit of qualification in the creative fields. Now, there is a challenge the kids of these days they face, and that is convincing the parents. So it's an age-old, paradigm that takes a long time to shift. Today, the sudden surge of the dynamism, the environment changing so rapidly. What we had a physical academy has now shifted onto our mobile phones and the laptop. Agility is going to be the if I'm not agile, I'm not going to be moving forward. These kids, boys like Aryaman, if they need to get into a creative field and they need to be, they have somebody like you, an absolute, monumental mentor who is willing to go the extra length and stretch his neck out to support these kids. How do these kids, in turn, convince their parents? Because it's quite difficult. I might still be okay. I might be still, be open to some of these areas, new interventions. Parents who are still in a silo, they think careers in a silo. How would they, transcend from that particular box and move out? Any suggestions? I mean, this is not
So,
something only for the
Raj,
kids,
yeah,
but
I know
how?
what they face. I know what they face, and as much as I can, I also sit with parents. I talk to them. I even mentor the parents as far as possible. However, today, for example, if Aryaman told you that I want to be a film star, you would not take him seriously. You would say, look at your age, look at your face, look at your family background, look at the city you stay in. What do you know about cinema? It would come down to that. Not because you have anything against cinema, but you are deeply against the fact that your child may fail in the future. You are deeply against your child going into any profession where you are out of your depth. You are very scared. If he wants to become a doctor, there is a roadmap. You know what to do. You know which school or which college to send him to. You have friends who are doctors. They will give you advice. You're in a safe space. If he wants to become a chartered accountant or a lawyer or a stockbroker or a businessman, you are in a safe space. But if he wants to become a makeup artist or a dancer, you are not in a safe space. You say, यार ये पता नहीं कहाँ जाएगा, हाथ से छूट जाएगा, गलत कंपनी में पहुंच जाए. All sorts of fears. So the answer to every single fear of parents has to be knowledge. So tomorrow, if your son were to talk to you and say, I want to be an actor, instead of saying, what do you know? If you asked him what he knew, and if he had the answers, then at least at some point you would say he's not talking through his hat. If he really wanted to become an actor, I'm just giving an example, like I did, and I talked to my father. And I seriously talked to my father. And my father said, what do you know about cinema? So I said, I know about cinema? You asked me? So he said, how many cinemas are there in Bombay? So I said, in Greater Bombay, there are 27, in Thane, there are 6, in Pune, there are 17. He had no answer because I had the answer. He asked me how many films Raj Kapoor had directed. We were going to see Bobby. Until then, Raj Kapoor had directed only 7 films. He made only 3 more after Bobby. Satyam Savam Sundaram, Prem Rog, and Ram Teri Ganga Mein. Now, my father had to take cognizance of the fact that it was not a fad. I was not attracted by the glamour. I had translated my love for cinema or my passion for cinema into knowledge. And that is the first, I think, step that a parent should take. If your child says he wants to go to a profession that you know nothing about, or you don't think you know anything about, then talk to him about that career. Find out whether that passion is just a fad or just being glamour struck or just something which he's using to evade. Sure. Or whether he really has taken the trouble to get in-depth knowledge about that. If that is the case, then your first step is satisfied that this is not hawa mein baat. Ye ek seriousness hai. At that point, if you are open to it, you will explore with him and there will be a logical and holistic approach which you will do. There will be other people like me who will guide, who will, give you... But yes, if you're going to be scared or if your attitude is, we don't do this. I didn't do it. My father didn't do it. My grandfather didn't do it. Therefore, you can't do it. If we come to that situation where it becomes so arbitrary, then the child will have no option to either defy you, if he is serious about it, or defy you even if it's a fad, in which case the final sufferer is the father. Because all fathers have a problem with their children after they cross 40. The time they wake up is wrong, the hairstyle is wrong, that earring is wrong, the way they wear their clothes is wrong, everything they do is wrong, not because they don't like their children, but because they're deeply scared that this child is an idiot. He has no capacity to earn, so I must put him in a career where I can help him. I don't think that's true of millennial children anymore. I think they know more than us. I think they research more than us. I think they have internet, they have Google, they have 150 things. They genuinely know what they want to do. So they do not need defiance or attitude. What they need is a clear examination of whether this is going to sustain the next 40 years or not. Secondly, if not, then at that age, at the age of 17, 18, 19, a boy or a girl are entitled to change their mind 20 times. We did. I've been a producer, an actor, a television star, a journalist, a teacher, and now a dean. I have changed so many professions because all of them had one thing that was common: communication. But there was no one to teach me, so I had to sort of stumble and fall and wake up and stumble and fall and get up and do it by myself. But I think the first thing that parents must do is take their children seriously. Because today's millennial kids, those who are 17, 18, 19, 20 now, they've been born to the internet. They've been born to Google. They've got information at their fingertips and they have answers. You don't. If you ask a child anything, he will do this and he will say, see. So you'd much rather absorb that and become his ally then become his stumbling block because he's just adding a burden. He's not going to listen.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Beyond that, I've always worked with parents all my life. So any parents here, if you need help, you need guidance, I'm always there.
So that does set a lot of things in the right perspective, because a passion is nothing without adequate knowledge being, used along.
Knowledge is always the thing, yeah. Nobody teaches their child, with due respect, to drink. But by the time they're 18, they all drink. They know where to get it from. They know the difference between cognac and brandy. They know the difference between whiskey and single malt. They know the difference between Kingfisher beer and Heineken beer. Nobody taught them.
Sure.
What they have a passion for, they will learn. And there's nothing we can do about it except to be an ally so that it doesn't become such a big issue that it becomes dangerous.
Awesome. Absolutely. Aryaman, over to you.
Yeah. So, sir, regarding this last point that you said, our seniors tell us something that is very weird in cases, but sometimes we find it out to be true. That is, try everything in life, whatever it may be, good, bad, but they say try everything in life. But what about the values when you do this? Where do the values go?
I've tried everything in life, but I did not try it because I was immature. I tried it because I was mature. When we are told try everything in life, what we are told is experience it maybe once. Analyze whether you liked it or not. If you did, why did you like it? If you don't, why didn't you like it? And move on. Try everything in life is not a license to have fun, because everything in life, we only think of all the bad things. We think of things like sex, drugs, rock and roll, music, liquor, cigarettes, etc. Try it. 99% you won't like it. I am finding your age kids smoking far less than kids used to smoke in my generation. No doubt about that. But if you try something, you have to understand that it is not the drug that will kill you. It is not the liquor that will kill you. It is not the cigarette that will kill you. It is the excess that will kill you. If you are able to, and finally, if you're someone who likes a drink, and if you have a couple of drinks every day, you can do it all your life. It's not going to harm you. If you're going to finish off 2 bottles in a day, it'll kill you in 6 months. But that applies to rasgullas also. 1 rasgulla after dinner is fine. 75 rasgullas a day is going to kill you as bad. So it is never going to be the habit or the excess. It is the fact that you are overindulging in anything you do. That's the killer. So when they say experience everything, try everything, they don't mean get into bad habits. They mean see what it is for what it is, understand it, analyze it, and try to avoid it if you think it is harmful. But to understand exactly why it is harmful, you have to be mature enough. You may think it's easy now, but 6 months later, when that bad habit is taking shape, it's very dangerous.
So maturity is the thing that needs to be taken in count.
Correct. And maturity doesn't have an age. There are some kids I know, you for example, so many others that I meet who want to talk to me, whom I encourage to talk to, and they're all below 20. And it's a very strange relationship because I'm old enough not to be your father. I'm old enough to be your grandfather. You know? And I don't think, age has anything to do with communication or relationships. I don't think so. I mean, I have a lot of friends my age who have become old. They sit in the club in the evening, they have a drink. If there's no car and driver, they can't leave the club and go home. Even if they have to get an Uber, somebody has to get it for them. So they have, and I got scared when I saw my friends. And I gave up the car and the driver the next day. I use buses, I use trains, I use the metro, I use public transport, I walk. It keeps me grounded, it keeps me connected. And for those who recognize me, I wear a cap, I wear dark glasses, they don't recognize me on the train. They're not expecting to recognize me. So I think communication is very important. And I think a lot of kids who would like to, all my students, in fact, we go and see movies together. We sit and talk about cinema, even outside class. We talk about life. We talk because you're at an age where just what the education is cannot be good enough. And then you've got Google, which is not giving you knowledge. It is giving you information. The translation of that information into knowledge the translation of that knowledge into wisdom, that only a mentor or a guide or a teacher can do for you. So I would advise all the parents who are here to become that to their kids. Don't be the guy who defies your child. Don't be the mother who challenges your child. Don't be the mother who cribs and complains. Be what Google isn't. Let them get their information. Have the wisdom to translate that information. Have the wisdom to know you can't translate it and find somebody to do it. But finally, it is about knowledge, and it will always be so. And there are a lot of bad things. We're talking about sex, we're talking about drugs, we're talking about cocaine being legal, we're talking about homosexuality, we're talking about politics, we're talking about communism and fascism and bigotry and religion. There are too many difficult things happening in the world now. Somewhere it all has to be rationalized, calmly discussed, and the way forward has to be found for every single individual child. And each human being is different. So if you find that your child is doing something that you disapprove of, it doesn't mean that he's wrong. It just means that you disapprove of it. If you want him to change, it is easy for you to change as well. Find a middle path. I think that's the best.
All right. So who was your mentor, sir? And what made you so motivated to become like your mentor?
My mentor was Majboori. Ab dekho, ek बैठा हूँ, and there is one Anand Balani who's a friend who's come, and we have to make a movie, and there's no money, there's only 5 lakhs. And then there's a friend of mine who was introduced to me by his father called Ashutosh Gavarikar. And everyone needs, I had to motivate myself to go even if I did things wrong, but to put a movie together and put it into the theatre. So I had to learn, and before I could do it, for people to have confidence in me, to learn from me, they had to at least think that I knew everything. I didn't. I did trial and error. So a lot of me was, and I think maybe that's one of the reasons why they succeeded, is that it was never me telling. It was me discussing. It was me talking where they said, sir, you're wrong, this is right. Or Vivek, you're wrong, this could be right. And I had the open mind to say yes. And through collective discussions with all of them, they became successful, I became successful. But there were no mentors. There were some very good teachers, Pearl Padamsi, who called me when I finished my 12th standard and said, would you like to do theatre? So I said yes, and I went to Pearl's house, so excited that I was acting in my first play. Except that she made me wash all the teacups and clean all the ashtrays at rehearsal. And I had 3 lines, but I was a general servant, come spot boy, come hard worker. But the discipline of the theatre, keeping silent backstage, wearing black clothes so that you can't be seen from the audience. The sheer discipline of that came with Pearl, and then we did a lot of plays together until she died. But by that time, Sridhar Shirsagar had called me to do Khandan, which was a soap opera, a television serial. And I sort of drifted into it. And then I produced Nai Dishaएं, which was my own serial. Dr. Wagh, my teacher at Cathedral, had written a script called Nai Dishaएं, and it was simply about a child who was on drugs.
Oh.
And I went all around asking people, and nobody wanted to play the drug addict, so I played the drug addict. And by the time I was through with that, and Gawahi, and then, so, I mean, I'm here now. I mean, I haven't analyzed, but all the films I made, all the projects I did, all the TV serials I produced were for others. They were not for me. I made films so that others would benefit. If I had to choose what I wanted to make, I would never possibly have made any of these films. Except maybe Rough Book.
Rough Book was amazing. It was featured in many film festivals. Congratulations on that, sir.
Thank you.
So we have some questions from some parents. So we have one question, that is, the person who is asking the question, his cousin is in 8th standard and wants to get into acting and move towards becoming a star. How to direct him into that industry?
So I would say that he's in the 8th standard, so he's not young enough and he's not old enough. So I would say his first big milestone is going to be his 10th standard. Until that doesn't happen, there will not be a 12th standard. And until that doesn't happen, there will not be any kind of qualification. The first step to becoming an actor or a film star has to be passing the 10th milestone brilliantly.
Okay.
So that parents are confident that this boy is quite capable of understanding, absorbing, and doing well in life. I will have faith in him being a successful actor or a star if I can at least have faith that he will do his 10th standard well.
Well,
ये
yes.
भी नहीं करेगा तो वहां क्या करेगा? See, it's a simple logic. Second major issue is that while he is in the process of 8th, 9th, and 10th, if he really loves films, then he should watch them. There's a lot of great films available. Watch films for the history. Watch films from the 70s, from the 80s, from the 90s. They're all available on YouTube. Watch the films of Raj Kapoor. Watch the films of Ramesh Sippy. Watch the films of Woody Allen. Watch the films of Martin Scorsese. Watch the films of Steven Spielberg. Watch the films of George Lucas. Watch the films of Rajkumar Santoshi and Subhash Ghai and Sanjay Bansali. Keep on watching the films. If your passion is intact, after you've seen every film, you will write a review of the film. You will understand what worked in the film. You will say simply in the 8th standard, this is what I liked. This is what I didn't like. It was too long, the artificial. Once you go on and on and on, and if you're serious, by the time you've finished your 10th standard and you're ready to go to the 11th standard and the 12th standard, you can choose subjects that will bring you closer to your goal. When you finish your 12th standard and you go to college, you are completely trained because you watched a million movies. You've read a million books on cinema. At that point, when you're doing college, you will become an apprentice to a director, to a producer, and see whether you can please stay on that film set for those 2 years while you're doing. After that, there will be grooming, there will be action, there will be photographs taken, there will be bodybuilding. That comes after the degree.
Okay.
But if
So we
the
have a
boy
question.
remains consistent right up to that point, then he can and he will be successful. Next question.
So I have a question for you. The web series these days, guys like Vikrant Massey, Pankaj Tripathi, Neil Bhupalam, and Sayani Guptas. Now, they perhaps might have been trained in the traditional protocols of getting into theater, or maybe they broke in with some.
No, they were people who decided they wanted to become actors. I know Neil, I know Pankaj Tripathi very well. They came, Pankaj Tripathi didn't have any illusions about his looks or his age. He said, मैं acting करूँगा, मैं नसीर साहब, पंकज कपूर के कदमों, ओम पुरी साहब के, और मुझे अच्छे छोटे रोल मिलेंगे. But he's become a superstar today.
Yes.
The web has opened doors for people becoming stars because of the sheer eyeballs.
Sure.
There is a very close friend of mine called Shreyas Talpade. I love him very much. He did a film called Iqbal.
Yes.
Before Iqbal, he had done play, and I was in London once and I actually saw him doing this Hindi play in a school in London. It was a charity show and I met him then. And he did a marvelous performance in a film called Iqbal. It was produced by Subhash Ghai. It was directed by Nagesh Kukunur. And Iqbal, where he was deaf and dumb and he was a cricketer. And it was a marvelous film, a marvelous performance. But when he played the second lead to Shah Rukh Khan in Om Shanti Om, the kind of eyeballs he got made him into a star. And this is something I taught Shah Rukh. It's not the quality of the role or the size of the role. It's about how many people are going to see you doing it. The whole flip came with Om Shanti Om because more people saw Om Shanti Om on the first day than people had seen Iqbal in the entire lifetime theatrically. But that has also been cut now because we have the internet, we have YouTube, we have Netflix, we have Amazon, we have Hotstar. We have the eyeballs already. So today, if an actor wants to become a star, he doesn't have to understand the business of marketing, cinema, theater, etc. He has to understand the business of social media. He has to understand how to get his likes. He has to understand how to get 15 lakh people to follow him and genuine followers. He has to understand how to keep their interest sustained day after day, day after day, hour after hour. It's a different form of knowledge and discipline, but it's the same principle. I'm going to get eyeballs so that tickets sell. I'm going to get eyeballs so that TRP happens. I'm going to get eyeballs so that we get a price on a digital platform. The principle is exactly the same.
Sure. Sure. So like you just mentioned that Shreyas Talpade in a movie called Iqbal. And Iqbal, I, as a coach, used to keep it as one of my standard feature, points learning through Iqbal. I mean, of course, it was a great movie. We learned so much. And you also mentioned that he got the eyeballs when he graduated on to be a second lead with a Shah Rukh Khan movie. And that really made great things happen for him. Essentially, you're saying that you're known by the company you keep. And you also mentioned in the same breath that in today's times, when we have got the internet and the social media on everybody's mobile phones, how do I actually decide what company should I keep? Where do I really go to build my network? And I'm talking of the millennials. How do they take that decision with them? How do they move ahead?
I think we must realize that people who follow us on Facebook, or people who friend us on Facebook, or people who follow us on Twitter or Instagram are the public. They are not our friends. They are not our colleagues. They are not our acquaintances. Your friends are those whom you can call home and have dinner with. If you can't, they are not your friends. They are acquaintances, or they are work colleagues, or they are professionals. But those whom you can bring home, sit with them, share your food with them, and they can do the same with you, those are friends. We have to understand the difference. That doesn't mean that you're not my friend. You are just following me on Twitter. We can't be patronizing and we can't be overbearing about it. Those people are following us on Facebook or Twitter either because they want to learn something from us, or because they want to see our pictures because we are so good looking, or they want to understand what we do because we have certain skills, or we are intelligent, or we are funny, or we are witty, or we get the latest news first, or we give an analysis of the situation, whether it's political or sports or cinema. So there must be some reason why people are following us across social media. That reason becomes your USP.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with friendship.
It is what you do. That's correct.
Aryaman, there are questions from parents. There's
Sure.
there's a question from one of the parents who says that my daughter is an artist and writes stories for kids and illustrates the same. She wants to get into movie production for kids. Do you have a place which can help her learn further and get her into some kind of a formal qualification for this?
How old is she?
15.
15.
Sorry?
15.
15 is too young. I would say that the principle is the same. It is only after they finish the 12th standard that they can actually choose. At Pearl, we have courses which are very beneficial. We have a 1-year digital filmmaking course, which is marvelous because we give you all the basics. And then we make sure that you get your internships and your apprenticeships within the film industry. We have a great professional photography course where you finish the course, you learn everything because you already have the eye. That's why you want to become a photographer. You already have the camera, so you're taking pictures. But now understanding the technique, the depth, why you have to stand here, why you have to light it from there, the professional technology is taught. And then you are given interns with photographers again. So ditto with someone who wants to get into production of children. Now, I'm not getting into the content of what has to be produced. But the first step would be to actually understand the business of production, then get into becoming an intern to a producer and learning not how to spend money, which everyone knows how to do, and understanding that making a film is about spending money. So it is not the job. Selling the film, marketing the film, and earning money from that is the real job. You can't just say, मैंने देखो कितनी अच्छी picture बनाई. अरे किसने देखा नहीं तो क्या होगा आपका? So making the film is 1% of the job. 99% of the job is to make the film successful. Making the film successful, there is no textbook. It has to be learned and absorbed by the masters, which is why you need to become an intern or an apprentice to a good producer, then shift from there into becoming an intern in a distribution company, in a film studio, and then armed with all that knowledge, armed with that network, armed with the people who have become your friends through that journey, you will set up your own production house. You will be able to understand how to pre-sell those movies to digital platforms, to distributors, to satellite channels. And then making the film is 1% of it. I've made 40, I mean, just imagine.
So it is the post-film making that is the important thing. That is how you said.
person with a white shirt, white pant, and white shoes with a black briefcase has become a producer. We have a million producers. मैं picture बना रहा हूँ. What is your qualification? मेरे पास ये briefcase में पैसे हैं. So I'm telling you that every single person knows how to spend money. A film that should cost 2 crores by trial, by error, by making mistakes, by shooting, reshooting may cost 20 crores. It'll get made. Making the film is really not going to be the big issue, but making the film correctly, making the film successfully, making the film rightly is not as easy as it sounds. But those are the processes that have to be learned by everyone who wants to be in cinema.
All right.
Thank you so much, for this particular last couple of points that you made, because it helps parents like me, stand by the sides of our kids, because they would want to pursue a career in creative fields, but we don't know whether that would be something that would bring them success in the days to come. What you just mentioned, and I'm sure this is what your academy is doing it so very nicely, getting these millennials into a qualification and also telling them how to monetize their talent and skill and what they have learned. That would be the key to every parent's decision making. Thanks a lot, Mr. Vaswani. This is a very critical point that I believe a lot of parents would value a lot. Aryaman, that also tells me that we have just time for one more question.
Sure.
Taken an hour for Mr. Vaswani. It's already 12:02. We are 2 minutes over time, but we can take one more question.
So the question is, after COVID-19 ends, changes क्या आएंगे? कितने ज़्यादा आएंगे? और कैसे? How do we adapt to those changes?
So the world has already changed. I think a lot of us have realized that COVID-19 was just the excuse. We were hurtling fast towards destroying our own planet.
Yes, very much.
First lesson that we have to learn is that we should never put the planet in such a position again that we will have to go through another lockdown like this. Things have changed. A lot of things are going to become digital. A lot of companies are going to need less people because they've adapted to working with less people. A lot of people are going to have less servants because they're used to doing their housework at home. A lot of us are going to still, governments will have to find solutions to public transport and slums because those are things that are not solved. We personally, post-COVID, will have to understand a lot of things while we are in this lockdown. I would advise all parents, all students to sit down a little bit and introspect. Understand where the future is going and why. You've never had the time. You've always had to rush to college and rush back and social life and then go out for dinner and then family dinner and then social media and internet and I have to play tennis and I have to play cricket. You've never given yourself enough time because it was not there. Now it's there. So give yourself time. Create a diary. Write down what you think your strengths are. Write down what you think your weaknesses are. Understand how to build on those strengths. Understand how to reduce those weaknesses. Let that diary become into a complete travelogue of your mind's journey day by day so that you come to certain conclusions about yourself because those conclusions will be valid only to you and nobody else, but it's your diary and your life. And then take out the 3 most important things that you came to conclusion about yourself and follow those.
All right. So this is a time for self-introspection. That's what you said. Yes.
Because there's never, once the lockdown gets over, we're going to go mad again.
Absolutely.
And this is the time where even if we want to, we can't. We are going to be at home and we're going to be. So
very much.
I think that creating your own travelogue, because we always do. We go abroad, we take 2,000 photos, we put them on Facebook, Instagram. Our physical travelogues are there in the world now. Everything is public. But your mind's travelogue, the way your mind is going to travel, make certain decisions, understand yourself. What are your frailties? What are your weaknesses? What are your bad points? What are your bad habits? And ditto, what are your strengths? What are the things that you do well? And when you get that, I think you will be able to analyze that diary and it will become your friend for life. I've been keeping a diary about myself since the last 20 years.
Oh, that's
But
amazing.
yeah, I was very selfish. That's going to be the book that I'm going to write. Everything that you wanted to know about Bollywood, but were afraid to ask. But I
That's a
found I
great
didn't
thing.
need the diary. It's an encyclopedic memory, so I have it all in my head.
So that's an amazing bit that you mentioned, that travelogue for self. I think this is a major takeaway for almost everyone who's tuned into this session with you. Travelogue for self. If you don't have an IP, please take it, because there are people like us who are going to be trademarking this particular term. It's a beautiful thing. Me on my own.
Remember one thing, I mean, you can make the travelogue on your phone. Everything is now. But understand one thing, until you don't use a pen and a paper, you will not get muscle memory. Pressing buttons does not give you muscle memory. Dancers, sportsmen, they're able to learn so many intricate steps and do them 3 hours at a stretch because the muscles are trained to learn. So if you want something to really go into your head and not come out, you have to develop muscle memory, which is your hand, your pen, and your paper. Do it, it'll change your life.
Very rightly said.
Sure. Aryaman, that takes us to the there are so many questions that have been flowing in fast and furious on our mobile phones as well. To all those who have had their questions answered, I guess you have been very fortunate. The ones who could not, don't think this is the last word we've had with Mr. Viveck Vaswani. We are going to request him. Maybe we can have a subsequent series of interactions.
Sandeep, we can do another one, and we can take on where we've left off. I'm sure Aryaman is interested enough to get another 20 questions.
Yes, I am very much.
And we can start by answering all these questions.
Yes.
And then we can go on to even exploring new avenues. And a lot of people who are here today can actually interact with us about whether they've set up a travelogue for their mind, whether they've set up their diaries, and a lot of new questions will come out. I don't think talking once becomes into an experience. It has to be continuously done so that it evolves into something that becomes very important for each person who's here.
Exactly.
Magnanimity, thy name is Viveck Vaswani. Well, so nice of you, sir.
It's my pleasure.
So,
whatever you say, I'm not going to say no. So he asked me and I said yes. And we are
so
cool.
nice of you. So, I would like to round up all of this. मैं एक छोटे से चीज के साथ ये खत्म करना चाहता हूँ. तो ये बालकृष्ण के समय की बात है. कार्तिक का महीना था. तो माताएं अपने बच्चों की सुरक्षा, उनकी सेफ्टी, उनके वेलफेयर के लिए एक पूजा करती हैं, जिसके बाद पूजा के बाद वो नदी में एक पत्ते पे दिया रख के उसे बहा देती है. इट इज फॉर द सेफ्टी ऑफ द चाइल्ड. तो बालकृष्ण भी थे, उनकी माता ये पूजा कर रही थी, उसके लिए तैयार हो रही थी. तो उन्होंने पूछा, माँ आप कहाँ जा रही हो? तो माँ ने बोला, मैं एक पूजा के लिए जा रही हूँ तुम्हारी सबसे मनपसंद नदी पे. तो उन्होंने बोला, मैं भी आना चाहूंगा. अब उनकी जिद के सामने तो कोई रुक नहीं सकता, तो भी चले गए. वो उनके साथ गए नदी में. माँ झुक के पूजा कर रही थी, वो दिया को नदी में डाल रही थी. उनने ऊपर उठ के देखा, कृष्ण कहीं आजू बाजू नजर नहीं आए उन्हें. उनने नदी के बीच में देखा, कृष्ण जी वहां पे थे पानी के अंदर. उनने पूछा, कान्हा तुम ये क्या कर रहे हो? कान्हा ने बोला, मैं दियों को किनारे पे रख रहा हूं. तो माँ ने पूछा, पर तुम जो दिए तुम्हारे पास आ रहे हैं खाली उन्हें क्यों रख रहे हो? तुम्हारे आसपास में से भी तो दिए जा रहे हैं, तुम उनका क्या? तो कान्हा ने बोला कि जो मेरे पास आएगा मैं उसकी ही तो मदद कर पाऊंगा, मैं उसको ही तो किनारे लगा पाऊंगा. सो फ्रेंड्स, विवेक सर इज द कान्हा फॉर अस, एंड हम उनके पास गए, वो हमारी नैया को किनारे लगा रहे हैं. थैंक यू विवेक सर. Meet you in the next time. Thank you everyone for joining in on the first episode of Youth Talks Rise. Hope you all are staying safe. Bye bye.
Thank you. It was a great pleasure. See you everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.